One Punch Man is finally back. After the horrifying cautionary tale that was season 2, plus 6 years worth of Batman preparation, we can finally return to the prime of One Punch Man. Well, they're saving the budget. Yeah, the trailer only looks the way it does because they're saving their budget. The trailer also rips off animation straight from season 2 because they're just saving their budget. They're just simply pulling a Blue Lock season 2 and waiting until the end of the season to use most of their animation budget.
3 was so far beyond the best episode we've gotten so far.
Okay, so listen, it isn't exactly a trade secret that season 1 isn't that good because the animation is absolutely cooked. And you know what? You would absolutely be right. If the animation of season 3 was simply fixed, then maybe the season wouldn't be so bad, right? Well, I might be in the minority on this one, but to be quite honest, outside of the animation, there are fundamental problems with the 3rd season of One Punch Man that not even good animation could resolve. Because the real problem with the season is something that has actually been growing in the background for years and is only just now started to show its ugly face. But to understand exactly what it is that I am talking about, we need to go back to the beginning of season 1. Now look, I and many others consider season 1 to be the golden foundation of One Punch Man because this show just truly had it all. It had animation that was absolutely legendary for 2015, a passion project from Madhouse, which brought together animators from across the industry to deliver us absolute eye candy. And though these days this animation might be considered a bit above average for most Mappa-related shows, but what you need to understand is that this was made over a decade ago. To pull off something to this scale at this time was nothing short of a miracle. And that was the primary reason why One Punch Man was so successful in the first place. The animation was just simply legendary. Even to this day, I still find myself rewatching the sparring match between Saitama and Genos just because it was one of the most well-animated fights that I have ever seen in all of anime. However, I believe that the animation alone was not the reason why One Punch Man was successful. It was also because of how they handled the story. You see, the entire premise of the show being some bald guy that is so strong that he can simply one-punch everything to death is pretty funny. And what adds to the silly concept is simply how well animated everything is. So we get a combination of a funny show that is absolutely amazing to look at. Because let's be real, if the show was just amazing to look at and nothing else, it would not be nearly as successful. In fact, I believe their ability to set up comedic and funny moments is one of the greatest strengths of One Punch Man that hardly anybody talks about. One of the earliest examples I can think of this is in episode 2, when Saitama, who has now been established as possibly the strongest man alive, isn't even strong enough to take out a mosquito. Well, we have people getting the literal life sucked out of them by the and Genos getting his face smashed in despite clearly being really strong himself until Saitama bitch slaps her to death, wreaking his vengeance on the queen of mosquitoes. This is also where Saitama becomes acquainted with his fellow Cyberstroker, and honestly, the dynamic between these two is perfect. I could pretty easily just watch a show that simply follows Saitama and Genos' silly, super well animated and funny adventures, killing monsters and aura farming. But the show continues to progress and shows us the Hero Association, who for the most part just acts as a way for Saitama to try and gain some recognition while also gaining some money on the side. But as we slowly progress into this ecosystem, Saitama actually gets the opportunity to connect with some compelling characters and actually form some really great dynamics with them. A good example of this being Saitama and Moomin Rider, who both connect over the fact that they are both C-class heroes struggling to move up the ranks. And Moomin also being the only one who actually recognizes Saitama for the true hero that he is. And I believe that it is because of Moomin Rider that Saitama eventually progresses to no longer actually caring about recognition, but solely focusing on being the best hero possible. But apart from this, most of the hero association, I honestly could not care less about. But that is fine, because Season 1 ends off with a bang, when Saitama fights an opponent in one of the most intense, action-driven, and one-sided fights that I have seen in my life. And even still, he was able to handle multiple of Saitama's punches, something that no other opponent has been able to do to this day. And with Saitama having peaked here, only time will tell what the future of One Punch Man has to offer. Wait, why did you say that Saitama peaked? Didn't Season 1 just end? Well, let us go back to the boardroom. Essentially, let me break this down for you. The animators at Madhouse acknowledged that Season 1 was their magnum opus, but now it is time to move on to even bigger and better projects. So they scatter like the Dragon Balls across the anime industry, and One Punch Man is left without a studio. So the question on everybody's mind at this point is, which animation studio will actually take on the mantle to carry on the legacy of One Punch Man? Will it be Kyoto Animation? Maybe Toei Animations? Mappa? Nah, it will be JC Saf, baby! The same studio that pioneered Do You Love Your Mom and her 2-hit multi-target attacks around the same time as One Punch Man Season 2 is the qualifying studio to take on the legacy of One Punch Man! No, seriously. What the actual fuck? Okay, but you know what? I'm sure it'll be fine. As long as they give themselves enough time, I'm sure that the animation will be just dandy. And you know what? Despite being as overloaded as they were in that season, they managed to give One Punch Man Season 2 the few months of undivided attention that it deserved. And honestly, I gotta commend them for that. And yeah, the animation wasn't nearly at the same level as when Madhouse animated it, sure, but it was at least passable, and honestly not overly atrocious to watch. Well, with the exception, of course, to Genos' cyber latex textures and the annoying ass sound effects that make my eardrums feel like they are put right next to an atomic bomb. Animation and shitty sound effects aside, however, Season 2 was still a major downgrade from Season 1. Because you see, when you turn the funny, caped, bald man show that isn't meant to be taken seriously, and then you take it seriously, you tend to run into some problems. Because instead of continuing to do what we know made Season 1 work so well, we instead focus more on the serious plot points, such as the Monster Association wanting to kill humanity, and Garo wanting to kill heroes cause, well, we'll get back into that in a sec. And Saitama, the funny guy that we all know and love, let's just throw him to the sidelines for the majority of the season and dilly-dally in a tournament until he shows up at the end and just one punches something to death. I swear this won't be a common occurrence. And Genos? Let us separate him from Saitama so we can't laugh at their silly adventures and instead just send him on an endless mission to kill various monsters until he can aura farm at the last second and low-key cook Garo's ass in one of the best fights in the entire season. But as far as the comedy and the overall silliness goes, well, you might as well just tone it down. I mean, who actually cares about my overall enjoyment over the funny, goofy bald man show when I can just focus on characters I don't care about being killed? Because apart from Genos and Saitama's encounter with Sonic and fan service, and apart from Saitama forming a me and bro relationship with King after catching him gooning to hentai, we don't see them do a whole lot in this season. So we instead shift our focus on the heroes in the Hero Association, characters I mostly don't care about taking the center stage for damn near the entire season. But you know what? That's fine. I mean, as long as I'm given an actual reason to care about these characters, I'm sure it'll be fine. Honestly, I just don't. Except for you, Moomin Rider. And look, the only reason I actually feel anything for any of these heroes' deaths is because I would prefer for them to actually be more competent at hunting down Garo. Speaking of whom, Garo is alright. But if I'm being honest, he is just mostly entertaining to watch, and nothing more. His backstory is kind of lame and can basically be boiled down to, I think Genshin Impact is low-key cool. So he gets banned from society as he should. But years later, at the ripe age of the average 18-year-old from the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, comes back for vengeance to recover his hubris and announce to the entire world that he is the #1 gooner. And he basically goes on to kill every hero in a 20-mile radius. Until the finale of the season, which actually has one of the coolest fight sequences of the entire season, with Garo facing a group of Class A heroes and struggling really hard to win against them. And despite being outnumbered, he sends them back to Make-A-Wish.com. This also just so happens to be the moment where Genos finally shows back up again and Loki runs the ones with Garo and honestly aura farms the most he ever will for the rest of the series. I really wish that I was joking about that. Until Bang and his brother finally show up at the end of the season to beat Garo's average 18-year-olds' asses themselves. But at this point, I'm just sitting here wondering what took them so long to get there. But in a nutshell, he escapes, Saitama punches the fucking mosquito finally, and that's the end of Season 2. If I'm being honest though, Season 2 wasn't bad. I mean, sure, it definitely did not live up to the expectations of Season 1, but you know what? It is still very much recoverable. And with 6 years of preparation and time to reflect on how they can make Season 3 better, we can only go uphill from here. If Season 2 acted as an omen for what we should have expected in Season 3, then damn. Maybe we should have tried something else, because we already have a good idea of why Season 1 worked better than Season 2. The first reason obviously being the animation. I mean, come on, it's literally what One Punch Man is known for. And secondly, sidelining Saitama, like, the show is literally called One Punch Man. The hell are you doing? Like, I didn't know I was watching one Garo Man featuring his raging hate boner for the Genshin Impact haters, while the actual good parts of the show is currently too busy reading manga. And thirdly is the comedy. We do not want to minimize it. Stop separating Saitama from Genos, okay? It's just dumb and unnecessary. That's like making a Rush Hour movie and separating Jackie Chan from Chris Tucker for the entire movie because Jackie was studying for a finance exam and Chris Tucker was side questing in Breaking Bad. And also, they basically rehired the exact same animation studio that just did an okay job with Season 2 to recover One Punch Man because no other animation studio wanted to take it on. Like, are we dead ass right now? ABC's 1, 2, 3, JC Staff animates for quantity, not quality. Like, why are we having them do this show again? This is one of the most well-branded and well-respected IPs out there. Why are we just rushing it out to get it out there as soon as possible? Like, you literally have merchandise to sell. Like, you have stuff on the line here. Okay, but regardless, we begin with episode 1. The definitive hook and opening statement that says One Punch Man is back, and you are going to like it. Oh, and like it I did. Because why don't we just open up this episode with exposition for the entire episode? Because that's what everyone wants. Okay, well, they're just setting up for episode 2. I'm sure the show will pick up soon. Oh, episode 2 is also an exposition dump. What the fuck? I have waited 6 years for this damn show to release, and you're telling me that the literal hook, the part of the season that is supposed to convince me to keep watching this trash heap is nothing but exposition? Excuse me, Netflix. I didn't know I was watching Baki and learning the lessons of fucking grasshopper kung fu. I guess that's on me. Okay, listen, guys. I know that One Punch Man Season 3 is currently coming out, but it is super important that we animate reincarnated as the daughter of the legendary hero and the Queen of Spirits at the same time and give it even better animation than One Punch Man because it is absolute cinema. With all due respect, sir, what the actual fuck is that show?
You're welcome.
What the f*** is he talking about?
Oh, hey, remember that one time One Punch Man was self-aware enough to mock overly drawn-out exposition sequences and force characters to summarize their exposition in 20 words or less? Well, now, this show has become the one thing it swore to destroy, because the next few episodes not only primarily consist of pure exposition BS that I could not give less of a rat's ass about, but exposition sequences that flash back to earlier exposition sequences! Like, this is not that complicated. Oh my god, does it really take that long to say, okay guys, jump in that hole under Saitama's house? Like, why does this take an entire episode? Oh, and you know what else? Yeah, let's just ignore the fact that Saitama or Genos exist at all. Again! Let us make Saitama dumber than Goku when literal earthquakes are going off for the entire season, and give Genos another armor upgrade so that he can fight the biggest war of washing dishes! And give feminists around the globe a new modern standard to live up to! So basically, when it comes down to the comedy of the show, the only thing that is actually funny about it is how painfully bad it is.
Why are you grabbing Master's meat, hellish blizzard?
Why do you care so much?
Because the actual funny characters get cooked and are replaced by random placeholder characters that have never existed until now. They are just here like a new Smash Bros. Character they picked up straight from the street. Because you know what? Forget about actually developing characters. Let's just throw in some more. And then the animation is, well, you already know about the animation, because instead of giving One Punch Man more attention than in season 2 to ensure that the animation was better and actively learning from their mistakes, they actually gave it even less attention than before. So they ended up overworking themselves for working on reincarnated as the daughter of the legendary bullshitting ass. How awesome is that? And look, I know that everybody's going to blame Bandai Namco because they decided to enforce this really strict schedule onto JC's staff. But the way I see it, it is both Bandai Namco's fault and JC Staff's fault. Not the animators at JC Staff. The animators at JC Staff were absolutely cooked. The people I blame are the ones that made this schedule, looked at it, and said that they were going to do it. In my opinion, the schedulers that put JC Staff through this shit are truly the ones to blame for the situation. Because what do you mean you decided to take on this really strict deadline when you already knew ahead of time that you had multiple animes going on at the exact same time? And not just that, but also the fact that you know for a fact that One Punch Man needs really damn good animation, because even when you were knocked one peg down from Madhouse, you guys got absolutely cooked on the internet. Like, what did you think was going to happen? And you know what? I don't even want to watch Saitama actually do shit. I don't want to watch Genos do shit. You know what I really want to watch? I really want to watch side characters do fuck all for the entire season, with one of them having the actual best animation in the entire scene, named Flashy Flash. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, honestly, you could just replace him with Atomic Samurai. Like, I'm so sick of this shit. And why is Nikocado Avocado here fighting Lizzo? And why has Tornado been stuck in this exact same hallway for the past 20 years? But you know what? At least they decided to give Garo the primary amount of screen time for the second season in a row over the main protagonist, only to end his reign prematurely when he gets his ass beat once. And I low-key forget about his existence until the last episode, despite binging it all the way through. And why the hell did they randomly cook with a Kid Emperor in the middle of the season? Like, this was so random that it hurts. And it's like one of the best parts of the entire season. Oh, but did you actually enjoy seeing that fight with Kid Emperor? Because that is now only exclusive to VIP members. Because half the time in this season, we don't even see the fights happen. Like, what are these random edits and cuts in between? Like, oh yeah, let us just use the power of imagination on some Baki bullshit to let us envision what the fight should have been like instead of actually animating it and then using that same trick multiple times. Oh my god, JC Staff, y'all are geniuses! And for everyone who says that fixing the animation for this season would fix it, It would not. Because all this animation was adapted from the plot of the manga, which was already set up for failure from the start. The exposition, the side character focus, Nikocado Avocado vs. Lizzo, it was all in the manga material that was adapted into anime form. And though the anime doesn't do a good job either, it is merely only one factor that caused one of the greatest falls from grace in anime history. And if I am being honest, Season 1 is what really got me into One Punch Man, and I was honestly looking forward to this series propelling itself to new and greater heights. But I think the fundamental problem is that everything has just simply peaked already. Saitama has already fought all the strongest villains imaginable, from giant titans to the House of Evolution and the Deep Sea King, and even an alien traveling for decades to find the strongest foe to fight, all in one season. The way I see it, once you continue a story that has reached its peak, it can only go downhill from there. And though I had some hope after the second season of One Punch Man, believing that it was recoverable, Season 3 honestly just managed to crush that hope. And it wasn't even just because of the animation. It was because of the story. Season 2 showed me that One Punch Man was showing its cracks, and Season 3 simply just amplified it to a whole new level. And if I am being completely honest here, knowing what I do now, I would have been completely content to have let One Punch Man end in Season 1, because honestly, that ending was perfect. I usually try to end these videos on a positive note, but unfortunately, there really isn't one for this one. Simply a cautionary tale of why you should not let a Gooner animation studio take on a show known for its high animation quality. But simultaneously, it is also a cautionary tale of what happens when you keep writing a story that should have already ended. And look, even if it were to continue, it should have focused on the aspects that made the show shine the brightest. And no, I am not just talking about Saitama's Mr. Clean ass head. But regardless, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.